Thank you for that introduction, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak and present with all of you about a project I've been working on for the past several months regarding the casualties of Franklin County. I'm honored to be here today, a day of remembrance, respect, and gratitude for the Americans who gave their lives for us all. Once again, my name is Patty Teggatz. My parents are Tom and Sue Teggatz, and I have an older brother, Alan, who is currently stationed in San Diego serving in the Navy. My dad is a retired officer of the Army and Air Force. I have two uncles, Darren Teggatz, a retired Navy chief, and Brad Teggatz, an Iowa Army Air Guard officer serving many years in active duty and been deployed many times. My late grandfather, Leonard Teggatz, served in the Army. With the little background you have about me and my family, it's clear to recognize I don't shy away from nationalism and/or patriotism to this great country we call home. I'm privileged that I come from a family that has deep military lineage. And like my family, there are many, many other families across the country that have and have had family members and/or loved ones also face the challenges of military service. Many families that endured heartache of the unknowing, as their loved one was thousands of miles from home in danger's way. Many families that sent letters, not knowing if they were being read or even received. Many families that watched their loved one leave home, not knowing if it was the last goodbye. And as always, waiting for their safe return. But with the turmoil and chaos of military service, many families waited past that date of arrival, hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. Families in each state, county, town, and neighborhood had to undergo this distress as their loved one answered the call to military service. This sacrifice, this is why today, Memorial Day, is so special. A day to stop, think, and feel. The pandemonium and broad reach of military service has filled graves and burial sites all over the world. Some in this very cemetery. Halfway down the hill here lies Lieutenant Jacob Madsen. Some in local nearby cemeteries. Also mattering much, some hushed in foreign lands. In particular, of these grave sites, such that were buried at sea: Leo Kenninger, Lewis Fredericks, Wendell Hicks, Charles Harrison. Those that died on foreign soil: Keith Bryan, Joshua Knowles, Clifford Porter, Ephraim Wheeler, Gray Wagner. Those who were lost flying over hostile areas: Clinton Allison, Eldon Bertelson, Orville Berman, Raymond Knuppel, Erling Miller, Ardell Rooks. Those who were never discovered: Dean Fredericks, along with abounding more that are yet to be identified. These casualties and veterans have been known by their families, while some only known to God. Those who lay in our local cemeteries and all across the earth, the best of us, those of whom we've asked everything, rest peacefully. They ask of us today only one thing in return: that we remember them. If you look closely at your booklet with each of the casualties listed, one thing you should notice is that so many of the years, dates of birth, and dates of death are so close together. These were usually young Americans who never had a chance to be honored as veterans for their service. They let their actions speak louder than their words for their love of America. Whether they entered military service in warfare times, signed up in times of peace, or were called by a draft that represented the best of Americans, every American veteran and casualty is a hero to someone and everyone. Memorial Day is just one day we can show our gratitude, by standing up for everything the United States has to offer, figuratively and literally, by standing and placing our right hand over our heart as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance and sing our national anthem. As former President John F. Kennedy once said, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. The United States of America, a country that enveloped democracy, commissioning the freedom of men, encouraging the participation in selecting government leaders, then leading the world at recognizing women and minorities to be granted these equal rights as well. The venture of America was the first time the world had seen a completely free country that didn't restrict anything you could achieve. By letting citizens make their own decisions, we unleashed the creative power that resulted in so many important discoveries and inventions. The entire world changed when the New World became America, when breaking off from Great Britain during the Revolutionary War, lasting from April 19, 1775 to September 3, 1783, a total of 8 years, 4 months, and 15 days. This is where the dignity, grit, and tenacity of American veterans set the foundation that has held our hearts forever grateful for their service and sacrifice. The new world that these early veterans secured for us more than 250 years ago created the greatest opportunity and setting that had been available in thousands of preceding years. America is the powerhouse of many firsts. We invented the first fire hydrant in 1801, the combine harvester in 1824, then the grain elevator 10 years later. In 1876, Alexander Graham made the first telephone call to Thomas Watson. In 1884, we invented the machine gun and built the world's first skyscraper. On December 17, 1903, Wilbur and Orville Wright changed the world forever when they made 4 flights at Kitty Hawk with their first powered aircraft. The first computer was invented in 1946, taking up more than 1,800 square feet. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins were aboard Apollo 11 as it blasted off from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. 4 days later, Armstrong became the first man to walk on the moon. The point is that our freedoms are the catalyst to invention and advancement in which we see today. We came to the realization that all races must be treated equally. Then we went to have our first black president. Women can run for top government positions, such as the presidency, because we're a free country that says every person is equal and able to accomplish the same things. These opportunities wouldn't have been feasible, nor would they be today, if it weren't for the courageous men and women who assured these to remain. American military families' worst nightmare is to get a knock on the front door from men in uniform, then to hear the sound of taps being played for their fallen loved one. For us, who still have a voice, it is our obligation to fill that silence with our admiration and praise. It is our duty to ensure that we pass this respect to future generations. The moment we accept anything but, this is the moment in which we have failed to make responsible our faults as American citizens. Leo Thomas Kenninger was first-class fireman on the USS Oklahoma that was sunk at the time of the Pearl Harbor attack, at which in time Leo lost his life. He was 20 years old. He had served 1 year and 7 months at the time of his death. Leo, son of Mr. and Mrs. Frank Kenninger, northwest of Ackley, gave his life in service in World War II, according to a telegram received by his parents one Sunday morning. The telegram reads, and I quote, "After exhaustive search, it has been found impossible to locate your son, Leo Thomas Kenninger, first-class fireman. U.S. Navy, and he has therefore been officially declared to have lost his life in the service of his country as of December 7, 1941. The department expresses to you its sincere sympathy. Leo's grave is the USS Oklahoma, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. He died in the sneak attack that caused the United States to enter World War II. The Elliott Kenninger Post of the American Legion athlete is named partially in his honor. Specialist Joshua Lincoln Knowles, 23, of Sheffield, was in a military cargo truck on February 5, 2004, when the convoy came under mortar attack at a military checkpoint outside the Baghdad International Airport. He was killed when his vehicle was struck. Joshua graduated from Sheffield Chapin Missouri Thornton High School in 1999. He was an active student, participating in football, track, and also enjoyed snowboarding and playing paintball. He is survived by his parents, Les and Sandy Knowles, two sisters, Brianna and Michelle, of Sheffield. Sergeant Gray H. Wagner was a platoon squad leader of the 25th Infantry Division on the date of his death. Wagner's unit came under heavy attack from an unknown enemy force. He was commanding a machine gun position in the center of the insurgents' main line of advance and became the focal point of hostile rocket and automatic weapons fire. Although painfully wounded during the first enemy assault, Wagner courageously remained at his post to face the second attack, firing into the attacker's ranks until he was mortally wounded. His heroic actions contributed to the defeat of the enemy force. Sergeant Wagner's heroism and devotion to duty at the cost of his life were in keeping with the highest tradition of the military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. Every veteran in casualty has a familiar story like this, but they have been lost in time. They've been faded away with the memories that have ties to Franklin County. It's necessary and meaningful to remember as many and all of these veterans as we can. This project that I took on so willingly is just the beginning of my research, and I'm continuing progress in collecting information. This research has changed my perspective at just how truly lucky I am to be living in this great country, to have family, friends, and community members that care so much for my aspiration to achieve the American dream. For us, alive and well-being Americans, may we keep faith and never become weak or weary in what we have and the dreams that are yet to be realized. From the immortal words of Lee Greenwood, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. I proudly stand up next to you and defend her still today, because there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Thank you.
Thank you again for coming out to our program today for Memorial